Hello and welcome to Superpower Broadcasting. I'm Kevin Castley. Thanks for being here this evening. Tonight we're going to be talking about the recent attack by the Houthi rebels, which are an Iranian proxy in Yemen, who struck a Saudi Aramco petroleum center in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. This was about 2 hours ago, actually. It's been reported by Reuters. We have a video. This is posted on Twitter by Intel Doge. We'll take a look at this first, and then we'll get into an article, which is, in Reuters.com. So we'll take a look at that. But here's the video first. So yeah, that was purported to be the scene from a highway looking over the facility in Jeddah. So the rocket attacks emanated out of Yemen, Houthi-controlled Yemen, and they targeted these petroleum sites in Jeddah. That's kind of far away, and they were able to hit them pretty precisely. They hit one of one of those large circular tanks, basically. We've seen this kind of accuracy in the past, actually. They attacked the Abqaiq facility in Saudi Arabia, actually, a little while back. I believe it was actually in 2020, earlier in 2020. I talked about it on the show. I covered it, and I was like, look, this is a blatant act of war by Iran, essentially. They're just using their proxy to do it. But it's clear that the Iranians approved that. They basically fired these rockets over from Yemen over vast distance, vast swaths of the Arabian desert, and then struck the Abqaiq facility, and that was a pretty devastating strike. So yes, the Houthis are not like some superpower or whatever, and Iran is not either, but they're targeting and ain't mad. And we're going to look at the article. I'm just going to screen share over to that so that we can get into this. This is by Reuters. There we go. So we'll just scroll up here. Yemen's Houthis say they fire a missile at Saudi Aramco site in Jeddah. Now, shouldn't even so much be Yemen's Houthis. They're Iran's Houthis. They're Iran's proxy. Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi group on Monday said it fired a missile at a distribution station operated by the Saudi Aramco oil company in Saudi Arabia's Red Sea city of Jeddah and struck it. That's a video that we just watched purporting to, serve as evidence there. Now, Saudi Aramco is the sixth largest corporation in the world by revenue. This is huge. Obviously, Saudi Arabia is a very important ally to America and the West in general, a bulwark in the fight against Iran. And here you have Iranian proxies, possibly with the order of the Ayatollah, striking facilities in Jeddah, striking facilities at Abqaiq earlier in Saudi Arabia, earlier in the year, just blatantly doing acts of war. Now you say, okay, well, Saudi Arabia and the Houthis are at war, so it's not like it's surprising. They're fighting each other, and that's true. The Saudi Arabian military is engaged in a war in Yemen against the Houthis, right? But the question is, to what extent can it be viewed as an act of war, not by the Houthis, but by Iran against Saudi Arabia? That's where it gets a little bit cloudier. I would argue that, yeah, Iran's the one funding them. They're the one supplying them with weapons. Even if the Iranian leadership didn't personally order this particular strike, it's clear the Houthis are a proxy of Iran. At what point do you then view these acts as an act of war against Saudi Arabia, not by some random, ragtag team of crazies in Yemen, but by the actual Iranian state? At what point do you just say, okay, you know what? They're done. They're done. We're done waiting. We're done waiting around for them to get nukes. We know what they're up to. They've been bankrolling this. These are acts of war against, our industry. Let's just take them out. Now, they would need American support to do that. And it would be very nice to have Israeli support as well. There was an article earlier today that I saw talking about Benjamin Netanyahu. Very tough on Iran, very tough talk on Iran. And he knows that Joe Biden is not going to be that tough on Iran. And we've all said, look, for all the downsides to Trump, the one upside to him is that he's tougher on Iran than Biden. Now, that's not necessarily saying that much. Bush would have been even tougher in these circumstances, but, something. So it's good to see Netanyahu taking a stand on his own. Continuing with the article, there was no immediate Saudi confirmation of the claim made by the group's military spokesman, who warned foreign companies and residents in Saudi Arabia to express cautions as, quote, operations will continue, unquote. Aramco's oil production and export facilities are mostly in Saudi's eastern province, more than 1,000 kilometers across the country from Jeddah. Well, that's where they struck earlier in the year. That's the Abqaiq facility near the Persian Gulf. State oil giant Aramco did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Again, this was only about 2 hours ago. So, the Houthi military spokesman Yahya Sarria said the attack was carried out with a Quds 2 type winged missile. He also posted a satellite image with the label North Jeddah Bulk Plant Saudi Aramco. Google Maps shows a facility matching that image and description on the northern outskirts of Jeddah. The strike was very accurate, quoting here, and ambulances and fire engines rushed to the target, end quote, Surya said. Yeah, well, he's not wrong. It does appear to be accurate. You have to give them that. I mean, yeah, they're poor. They don't have the best resources or anything, but hey, they had their proven accuracy against Abqaiq earlier. So here we go again. At what point are we going to say, okay, you know what, we're done? What, are we going to let Iran get nukes? Additionally, we'll get back to the screen sharing in a minute. I want to talk about this. This isn't something I've talked about on Superpower Broadcasting yet. I've often said, we're running out of time on Iran. They're going to get nukes. Even the United Nations. We criticize the UN all the time. Call them feckless, call them cozy with dictators, call them incompetent, call them lacking any backbone whatsoever, a compromise between good and evil, et cetera, right? Even the UN's own IAEA admitted that Iran has stockpiled 12 times the approved limit of enriched uranium under the terms of the Iran deal. So even the UN has been forced to admit that Iran is violating the terms of that. We know they're going to get a nuclear bomb at this rate unless somebody does something. Now, Wyatt's talked about this, and he said, Wyatt personally believes that Iran with nukes would be an even scarier and more dangerous threat right now than North Korea with their nuclear program as it is. And he was making the point that they're more likely to use it preemptively. And I actually kind of agree with Wyatt, because even though I believe that in the long run, North Korea is a greater threat, I don't believe that the North Koreans are purposefully being like, okay, we're going to get this number and then we're going to nuke America. Could happen either through miscalculation in a time of crisis or rash, out of the blue insanity by one of their leaders, whether it's Kim or his kids or his sisters, whoever it is that takes over, right? I don't trust them. I don't want to play that game. I don't want to roll the dice every year for the rest of eternity. Not interested in that. But it's a good point that Wyatt made, that Iran, they'll actually use it first on purpose. And that's kind of their goal. Good point. But here, let's just run through a thought experiment. Let's say they want to do that, but they don't necessarily want to just suffer the complete retaliation that would ensue. Let's say you're Iran right now. What are you going to do? You're going to get a bomb. They're working on it. They've got a lot of the materials. By some estimates, they could be 3 months out. But again, that's just going off of what we know that they have, that they were allowed to inspect, the inspectors, right? So probably a lot closer. They might even have a working bomb, for all we know, already done with material that they enriched at sites that we never even knew existed, right? What a stupid deal. Anyway, there were portions of sites that the inspectors were told about and allowed to inspect, but portions of those sites the inspectors were told, oh, no, you can't go over there, bro. It's like, are you hiding something? And they're like, no, well, no, but you can't see what we're up to. It's like, okay. Well, Donald Trump was right about that. Anyway, and getting back to this, well, here's the deal. The United States never tested the first nuclear bomb they used in warfare. That was the little boy weapon. And there were two reasons why they didn't test it, because they did test the plutonium bomb, the template of which went on to manifest itself in Fat Man that destroyed Nagasaki on August 9th, 1945. The one that they dropped on August 6th, 1945. Little boy. They never tested that device. That was a uranium gun type bomb. And they never tested it, and there were two reasons. The first reason was very hard to produce uranium. They didn't have enough for multiple devices to test one of those designs. The second is it was so obvious to everybody involved in the project that would work, that they're like, we don't need to test this to prove the concept. It's going to work, dude. And they were right. Would Iran need to test a uranium gun type bomb before using it against Israel? No, they wouldn't. Every nation that's ever tried, we talked about this the other day, every nation that's ever tried to get nukes and went to the testing phase, every time they tested, they were right on the first shot, right? They had complications at the thermonuclear level that would fizzle out, that kind of stuff. They had to work the kinks through. But when it came to simple atomic bombs, they all got on their first try. Would Iran need to test this? No. So for all we know right now, they've got a working gun-type crude fission device. They don't need to test it. It would be very easy for them to give it to terrorists like the Houthis and just have the Houthis nuke Saudi Arabia. Oh, it wasn't Iran, bro. It was just the Houthis. It was just the Houthis. And then you say, well, how did the Houthis get a nuke? Where did that come from? It'd be pretty obvious they got it from Iran, but Iran would just say, no, it wasn't us, bro. It wasn't us. What do you do at that point? At that point, they're basically calling our bluff and saying, you guys are so weak, you're not going to do anything about it. And the question is, if that happened, and they did say nuke Riyadh, or they nuked Jeddah, or they nuked one of these oil production facilities, I'm not saying anything huge, something like the Star Bomba, just a simple 15 to 20 kiloton range Hiroshima type gun type device with uranium, and they got a lot of enriched uranium. That's according to the UN. They passed along to the terrorists in Yemen, and it's fired from Yemen. What do you do? What do you do? And mind you, there are other ways that they could get that over there. That's the other thing too. That's the thing that's scary about this, like nuclear terrorism. There are a lot of ways that they could do that. They could absolve themselves of responsibility and say, no, it wasn't us. And then it's like, well, yeah, but where did a bunch of these Houthi rebels get the nukes? They got it from somewhere. People might say, maybe they got it from North Korea. Maybe they got it from Russia. Maybe they got it from China, wherever. And Iran's going to be like, no, it wasn't us. Even though it's going to be obvious it was them. At that point, people are going to say, brainlets, Jimmy Dore types, Kyle types, Tucker types are going to say, well, there's no proof that it was Iran. It could have been anybody. It could have even been America. And mind you, there will be conspiracy theorists if that happens, if the Houthis nuke Saudi Arabia with an uranium gun type fission bomb. There will be conspiracy theorists here in America and Canada. They're going to say, well, actually, the CIA gave them the nuke to do it to make Iran look bad. No, I'm dead serious, man. People are actually going to say that. They're actually going to say that the most obvious thing in the world, that Iran passed along a nuke to their proxies to nuke Saudi Arabia so that it wouldn't look like they were 100% confirmed guilty, so that there'd be a shadow of a doubt to say we're bad. There's going to be idiots out here that are going to say the most simple possible explanation. There's no way that that's true, man. Actually, it was like the CIA and the US and George Soros and stuff, and they're actually working with the Houthis to make Iran look bad. I'm telling you, man, those will be Kyle videos. Those will be Jimmy Dore videos. Those will be Abby Martin videos. Those will be Tucker segments. I'm just telling you straight up if that happens. So that could already happen at this point. For all we know, they've already got a working device in Iran. Now, maybe they're wrong. Maybe they're wrong on that bet, and the world does intervene and say, you know what? It was you. You're getting bombed. You're done, son. We know it was you. Cute little trick, getting your proxies to use the device. We know it was you. But in this current era of cringe, I'm thinking the Iranians would probably be smarter than, in that case, they'd probably be right to bet that we're too weak and we're too feckless and we're too incompetent to actually strike back at them. Our leadership in Canada is weak. America's leadership is weak. Trump has been decent on Iran, but a full all-out war, there's no way. Like everybody around him, he'd be like, "No, we're bad, we're bad." And even if because Trump's had some good instincts just of his own on Iran. Tucker and Pompeo and all these guys around him are going to be like, "No, no, 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 don't do it, man. We're bad, we're bad." It's like, okay, but like they just nuked Saudi Arabia, dude. The war's already on. Like they started the war. And Trump might even say that, and they're going to say to him, "Oh, but you don't understand. Like your base won't like it, man. Your base wants to like bring the troops home," and then Donald Trump's just going to go along with that. And that's Trump. Let's say it's Joe Biden. Joe Biden's probably going to be a lot weaker than Trump on Iran. My guess is even if Joe Biden probably knows that it was Iran, he's going to say, "Yeah, but we got to get back in that deal and stuff, man." I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. But I'm just telling you, there's no effective deterrent right now to stop Iran from doing something like this. That's how far we've fallen. Because I can tell you, if Reagan was in charge, if George W. Bush was in charge, if Truman was in charge, they know they were on notice, But right now, they're so confident, they feel that they can just get their proxies to bomb Saudi Aramco facilities. This is a crucial component of the world oil economy. Seriously? And then that increases the price of oil. And guess who benefits from an increased price of oil, relatively speaking? You say, well, that's good for Saudi too, because they can make more profit. Not really, because it means that now Iran and Russia can be more in the game because they have a much higher break-even cost because it's harder to drill oil in those countries, which is for two main reasons. One, their geography sucks compared to Saudi Arabia. And two, their technology sucks compared to Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia is allied with America, got access to Exxon oil, all that kind of stuff, ExxonMobil, I should say, all the best technology in the industry. Russia, Iran, not so much. So it costs a lot more to produce it over there than it does in Saudi Arabia. They have every incentive to make the price of oil higher. And whenever these brainlets, these losers, these lunatics, these pigeons, Kyle, Jimmy, Blumenthal, Norton, Martin, all of them, whenever they say, "Oh, well, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, they destabilize the Middle East." No. Let's just be clear. You can hate Saudi Arabia. You can say, "I don't like the royals over there, man. I don't like them." Okay, whatever. Let's just be real about something. The Saudi state interests are pro-stability in the Middle East and in the world oil market. The lower the price of oil, the bigger the market they get, the market share, because they can undercut Russia and Iran. And so even if they're not making as much money per barrel, they're able to sell a lot more barrels then, It's kind of like asking you, would you rather be able to sell like five goods right now, 5 items right now for a really high price, but have like 100 competitors and so not really be able to sell too much, or sell 8 million items at like a really low price, but you're the monopolist? Oh, I'd rather be a monopoly, right? So Saudi Arabia's interest is in stability and peace in the Middle East. Guess whose interest it is to cause chaos and instability and fund terrorism and do everything you can to get the oil prices skyrocketing? Russia and Iran, because they need a higher break-even cost. I wrote it was about a 25-page paper on this in one of my senior seminars when I was in university, talking about how just the nature of the oil market determined which countries were going to be pro-destabilization and pro-stabilization. And mind you, you could switch Putin and you could switch the Iranian regime and their ideologies and everything and put them in Saudi Arabia, and now all of a sudden they would be pro-stability and stuff because that's just the geography, right? Now, That's a bit of a simplification, but it's a lens through which we can view this that nobody ever really freaking even talks about. There's this brainlet meme that like America and Saudi Arabia want instability. Why? America and Saudi Arabia want low oil prices. Russia and China and well, not Russia and China, Russia and Iran don't just want low or don't just want high oil prices. They need that, bro. If they don't have consistently high prices above their break even, they can't even pay the bills. They can't pay the pensions. They're done. They're done. It's a revolt in the streets. So they have to do whatever they can to keep the oil market volatile and, you know, higher than it should be, right? That's just part of their interest there. Otherwise, they're shut out of the market. They're shut out of the market. If like oil was $10 a barrel for the rest of time, Saudi Arabia would be like the only country producing oil. They'd have a monopoly, and you know, Russia and Iran, they wouldn't be able to afford to produce it. They'd be done. They go bankrupt because so much of their revenue for their government comes from the production and export of those resources. They're just a very, very dependent and vulnerable set of economies. And so they desperately need to keep prices very high. So what do? They cause instability. Iran, of course, has all kinds of expansionistic aims. They've got the Assad regime. They've got the Hezbollah in Lebanon. They've got the Houthis in Yemen. Well, again, just to go back to this thought experiment, is it really that crazy to think that Iran, the largest state sponsor of terror, if they get a nuke, might give that nuke to terrorists? Is that really that far outside of the picture of possibility? No. So what are we doing? What are we doing? They've proven time and time again. By the way, this isn't even like the first strike. Earlier this year, they did another attack with missiles against Saudi Arabia. What, we're supposed to trust these guys with nukes? That's batshit. That's absolutely insane. That's absolutely insane. They can't even behave with conventional weapons. What, you're going to let, a nuclear Iran would be more peaceful, man. They just feel scared, so they need nukes. No, they would be an absolute menace and a bully, and they would use them, like Wyatt said. So let's just be clear about that. This is a warning of bad things to come if we don't get serious and take action against Iran very soon. And John McCain knew what they were up to. John McCain, you know, over a decade ago, was at a town hall. I believe this was back in 2008. He was asked, like, well, what should we do about Iran? And you know, when are you going to send some gifts, some packages to thugs in Tehran? This was John McCain's response here. Let's take a look.
It's well documented that we have, for quite a long time now, known where the real problem is in the Middle East. And in fact, the president adequately described it as the axis of evil. I guess my question is, how many times do we have to prove that these people are blowing up people now? Never mind if they get a nuclear weapon. When do we send them an airmail message to Tehran?
That old Beach Boys song, Bomberan. Bom, 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 bom. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, man, I miss John McCain. John McCain was such a legend. Oh, man. He should have been president. Can you imagine how much different the world would be today if he was president? Syria would be free and democratic. North Korea wouldn't be a thing. He would have dealt with them. Iran would be a free democracy today. Like, the world would be just so different. Putin never would have felt confident enough to invade Ukraine and would have backed out of Georgia. Like, the world would just be such a different place if John McCain had won instead of Barack Obama. You know, John McCain and Sarah Palin, you know, that would have been amazing. But, you know, this is the world that we have. We're 12 years on from that video that I just played for you. And we're on the cusp of Iran getting a nuke. Iran has been a menace for 41 years. At what point are we just going to say, look, you guys have a proven track record of not being able to behave with even the most simple types of explosives and stuff. You do terrorism and everything. We're not trusting you with nukes. Like, seriously, North Korea, and I'm not saying they're trustworthy, I don't trust them, but North Korea is objectively more trustworthy than Iran with nukes. Because at least North Korea isn't like, we're going to get the nukes, and then the second we get them, we're just going to nuke America or whatever. Like, no, they have a plan. It's a long run sort of thing, and they don't even intentionally plan on using them first. They want to use them to blackmail America so that they can take South Korea on their own and get the South to surrender very quickly. That's their end goal. They don't actually plan on like using the nukes. Now, again, they might use the nukes first. They might miscalculate. They might, in a fit of rage, use them. But they're not planning to do that. That's not like the idea for them. But with Iran's been straight up. They're like, the day we get the nukes, we're going to like do a Holocaust against Israel. That's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. And they don't care about the retaliation because then they're like, well, we get raptured up to God, basically. They're insane. They can never be trusted with nukes. Sam Harris talked about this. Sam Harris, by the way, got nuke pilled. He got hashtag nuke pilled. He was asked, what do you do about Iran? What do you do if there's a radical Islamofascist regime out there that's hell-bent on, destruction and doesn't care about even if you retaliate? What do you do? And Sam Harris is like, they would care so little about any consequences that they would actually see death as a reward. And in that position, you would have to use a nuke first to stop them from getting nukes. Now, I don't personally believe that you have to use nukes in Iran the way that I do with North Korea. I did the debate against Dylan Burns a little while back, and check that out. And I made the case. I'm like, look, this is the only solution here. That's the real nuke pill. Nuke them before they nuke us. But with Iran, it hasn't come to that yet. It shouldn't have to come to that. You shouldn't have to be at a point where the only way to win is by using nukes. You could destroy them conventionally right now and stop them from getting nukes. But we're not going to do that. And so that raises the question, what consequences are they likely to face for this? And my answer to you all tonight is nothing. I'm telling you straight up right now, my prediction, nothing is going to come of this, just as nothing came of when they attacked Saudi Arabia earlier in the year. They're going to get away with that. Now, sure, Saudi Arabia will do bombings against the Houthis and stuff. Sure, that's war. But Iran, the state that approved this, that okayed this, that you can view this as an Iranian attack against Saudi Arabia, the second one this year. Is Iran going to be suffering any consequences? No, absolutely not. Because everybody's too scared to deal with Iran. Well, if we're all too scared to deal with Iran right now, what's going to happen when they have nukes? Like, how? My question to you then, how do you think this ends? I propose to you for a moment, when a ludicrous dictator and his henchmen and his proxies tell you their intentions, why don't you for a moment simply believe them? When they tell you, as Ahmadinejad did over a decade ago, yeah, it's the goal of this state to get nukes so that we can do a nuclear holocaust against Israel. Why not just believe him? Why not just give them the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah, you know what, you're right, we believe you, and wipe them off the face of the earth, Like that old Beach Boys song, as John McCain said, bomb, 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 bomb Iran. Why not? Because the alternative is they're the ones doing the bombing. Now, they're already doing it. They already did it earlier tonight, bombing Saudi Arabia again. The difference is they'll have nukes this time. How is that acceptable? Like, I have yet to have somebody answer that to me. How the hell is it acceptable that Iran gets nukes? Because I hear answers from Kyle and I hear answers from Jimmy, like, but man, they're scared, and like America has bases in the region and all this kind of stuff. I don't care. I'm glad. I'm glad they're scared. They're the enemy, and I'm glad America has bases in the region. I'd rather America have bases near them than they have bases near us. Duh. But that's not an argument. How is it acceptable that this regime gets nukes? That's absurd. That seems like a recipe for getting millions of people killed very quickly. Unbelievable. Anyway, we'll take a look at the chat. Stockholm Brain says, if they can strike Saudi Arabia, why can't we strike Iran? Oh, because Iran said, oh, that wasn't us. That was just like our proxies, bro. And we're going to believe them. We're going to believe them. We're going to say, okay, that's your excuse. Cool. Because we're led by a bunch of pigeons. Mexinator says, ISIL cucks will say Israel. Oh, yeah, no, they'll blame Israel. If the Houthis use an Iranian nuke against Saudi Arabia, oh, yeah, all the alt-right losers and the progressives over here and stuff, what are they going to say? They're going to say, oh, well, actually, it was Israel and America and stuff. So. We'll take another look at the chat. Kamal G. Ram says Vosh is fat. That's true. It's true. It's true. Well, we might play that clip tomorrow. We'll see. FKJMS73 is here. He says, bro, I just knew this news now. Yeah, no, I just heard of this earlier tonight. I was at work and I'm like, oh, well, I was going to talk about the G20 thing. And actually the G20 summit was, it's a virtual one, but it's, headed up in Saudi Arabia. But thing is, I was going to talk about that in Trump's remarks. But then I'm like, this happens. I'm like, oh, so we basically have to do 2 streams tonight then, because this is major news. And you might say to me, well, this is just another data point. They've done stuff like this in the past. Yeah, I hear you. We talked about this on the show. But I want to make it very clear. I want you all to understand something right now. Let's hope nobody was killed or injured or anything in this. And I know it's still a lot of economic damage and it's still an act of war and everything else. But let's just hope that everybody's all right and everything on the ground in Jeddah and Saudi Arabia, right? But I want you to bear in mind here that the overall theme, the bigger message to the night stream isn't Iran's proxies fired another missile at a target in Saudi Arabia. The theme for tonight, the message, the takeaway that you should have from this is they're 3 months out by the UN's own admission from getting nukes. And they're doing these kinds of shenanigans. Do you trust them? Oh, interesting. We have a spammer here over on Facebook. What the hell even is this? Okay. Well, you, sir, are getting blocked. So there we go. And yes, I do stream to Facebook again now. I was blocked for a month because Zuckerberg, he doesn't like my mean words. We're bad, right? So I got zucked. But I'm back. It's good to see you all, except for the spammer. What a loser. Anyway. Getting back to what I was saying about FKJMS. FKJMS actually joined the patron gang recently. A huge thank you to you. I support your, I should say I appreciate your support. I recently had to drop a lot of money on the new computer equipment and the lighting and everything and all that kind of stuff. And I appreciate it that the patrons and the PayPal gang, you guys have been compensating me a huge percentage of the cost. I really appreciate that. But if I recall, you said before that you were in Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but. Oh, no. To Kamaljeet Ram's point, I didn't block him because it's in Punjabi. I want you to see something. He posted this, and he posted this, and then he posted this. He posted this. He posted this. To me, it all looks like it's just spamming the same message. He did that 8 times before he got blocked. So I'm not going to block you because you post in a language that I can't understand. If those were all different messages, then he would still be there. But I can't have you spamming the same message over and over and over again, clogging up the chat. That's not tolerated here. We have a no spam policy. So no spam and no doxing. Those are the 2 things that are immediately going to get you blocked. So, but yeah, let's see. Your hero, Michael Bolton, says, amazing account. He says, Bill Maher and Michael Morons are responsible for this anti-war sentiment that exists among millennials and Zoomers. Yeah, and it's spearheaded by the Russians, the KGB. So Hunter Coxey says, like, that's World War III, bro. I'm pretty sure he's memeing. Pretty sure he's memeing. Pretty sure he's hot gang. It'd be funny if he was like criticizing me right now with that, like June Shuan Head would do, as she did before. Like, but war is bad. It's like, okay, brainlet r/whoosh. So FKJMS says, yeah, I'm in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. My family lives near the facilities in Jeddah. Well, I hope they're all right. By the video that I saw, it looked like the rockets, we can go back and take a look at it. There was another one, I should say, that Intel Doge posted on Twitter that it had a bit of a better view. Yeah, I will go to this one. I'm going to download another one and upload it for you very shortly. Bear with me here. I'm just going to get this one up for you. Because we'll play the one that I was talking about. This one was the first one that came out a couple of hours ago. I have the next one here. So to me, it looks like it did hit the industrial facility. I could see those large round tanks basically there. So it doesn't appear that it hit any sort of residential area or anything. But I guess my question would be then, FKJMS, do you happen to know if people like live on that site? Like, I would imagine employee housing and stuff would probably be pretty far from where the actual facility is, or do people live like on the facility? Because I don't know. I'm just going off of these two clips that I've seen here, but I would hope that, especially at night and everything, that nobody would necessarily be around there. But I'm not sure. People might operate that facility 24/7. So I'd imagine. Well, it's a $1 trillion company. People probably do operate that facility 24/7. But yeah, I hope your family's all right, man. That's crazy. I mean, that's one of the things about the internet and everything is like, even a relatively small channel like this, one of our viewers, he has family that are like right by where this thing just happened, where these rockets just hit in Saudi Arabia. So, like, this is real. This is real stuff. This is an act of war, as the Abcake attacks were. When are we going to hold Iran accountable? This is 41 years, 41-year track record of them doing this kind of crap. And not just against Saudi Arabia, against America, against Israel, against all of our allies in the region. They seek complete hegemony over the Middle East and complete destabilization of the world oil markets. And they also seek nukes. And they're close. They're close. They're very close. Like, what? Am I going to have to do a stream out here in a few months where I'm like, I told you, they just did a nuclear test or something? Or, even worse, they actually used one. What about that? Like, what are we waiting for? Does anybody seriously think, like, oh, but you don't understand, we should try for peace? What part of that looked peaceful to you? The war's already started. The question is, when is the West going to fight back? When is Iran finally going to be put down and say, no, you're done. You're not getting nukes. We're not going to let you do this with nukes. We're not going to trust you with that. Sock on Rain said, next time Millsrow shows up in the Twitch chat, ban him, please. He's unbelievably annoying. Yeah, I banned him from the YouTube chat, but oh, he says, since I'm the only other one in Twitch chat, like 99% of the time. There are oftentimes other viewers on Twitch. It's just you guys are the only ones who comment. So, to Wyoming and beyond says, where's Reese? Where's Reese? Asked Nicholas. That's a good question. That's a good question. You know what? We'll see. I'm actually going to send the Wyoming Warhawk an invite, but he hasn't really been around in a little while. I made him some channel art. So hopefully he'll check that out pretty soon. It's pretty spooky. So the alt-right stole his internet. Okay. FKJMS says there isn't people living on the facilities. Only workers are there, but it's surrounded by residential buildings. If there's any casualties, it would be people on night shift. Wow. Yeah. So there are residential buildings close to the site. Yeah. That's pretty scary stuff. I'm so sick of this idea. You'll hear time and time again from the progressive left and the alt-right and the neo-Nazis and everybody and the communists and stuff, where they say that Saudi Arabia is the bad guy and they imply that Iran is the good guy. That is the most ludicrous narrative that you can possibly believe. Saudi Arabia is reforming. Now you can say, oh, but Saudi Arabia is a dictatorship. Saudi Arabia is a monarchy, all this kind of stuff. It's like, okay, but like Iran is a dictatorship. Like anything that you could say about Saudi Arabia, it's worse than Iran. Iran is far worse. Saudi Arabia is moving forward. Saudi Arabia is getting along with Israel and America and forming a coalition of peace and unity with the rest of the Gulf states and America and Israel against Iran. Iran, on the other hand, is moving in the direction of Russia, right? Iran, on the other hand, is moving in the direction of the forces of darkness. Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. They seek to destabilize. Saudi Arabia seeks to stabilize. And under Mohammed bin Salman, they have been reforming. And for all the talk out there of, disagree with this and that part of, aspects of Saudi culture and everything, I want you to understand something right now. For all the hatred that the Saudi royals receive, understand that if the Saudi royals were deposed in Saudi Arabia, they would be replaced by Wahhabi clerics that think that the Saudi royals are a bunch of decadent Western puppets. Imagine how radical things would be in Saudi Arabia if they were able to take over. The royals have kept a balance between, they have to appease the clerics and stuff, but they also sympathize with America. The clerics don't like America by and large, the Wahhabi clerics and everything. So if you're the monarchs in Saudi Arabia, you have a really fine balancing act to do there, because you need America for security on the foreign level, but you also have to appease these clerics on the domestic level. If the clerics got absolute power and turned Saudi Arabia into like an Islamic state, like an ISIS sort of thing, oh, that would be a disaster. That would be an absolute disaster. So I believe that the future for Saudi Arabia is reform. I don't think that you'd ever have to do a war or anything with Saudi Arabia. I think Saudi Arabia has expressed time and time again that they're interested in aligning with the West, in synchronizing with the West, and it's going to take them longer than it would, say, say, for example, a country like, I don't know, the Philippines or something or whatever, or India. It's going to take a lot longer in Saudi Arabia. That's fine, and we can apply pressure and leverage and all that kind of stuff on them. Right now, they're a great ally against Iran. They're a great ally in terms of stability in the region. They're a great ally in terms of the world economy. There's a lot that can be said about Saudi Arabia, but moreover, at the end of the day, any negative things that you could say about Saudi Arabia also apply to Iran, and Iran wants to destroy us. Saudi Arabia doesn't want to destroy us, so You know, that's just my thoughts there. I mean, because I know a lot of people could say, "Oh, you're a liberal and stuff." Like, shouldn't you be against Saudi Arabia? It's like, oh my god, dude, just like look into Jean Kirkpatrick and her view of this if you want to understand how I feel about these sorts of things. So, um, Hunter Coxey says, sadly, I don't think Biden is going to be strong in Iran for most our top foreign threats, and he's got 4 years as president. No, I agree. I think he's going to be weak on Iran. I think he'll be stronger than Trump on Russia. I think he'll be stronger than Trump on North Korea. North Korea is obviously my main focus, but Wyatt makes a really good case. Wyatt made a very good case for Donald Trump the other day. You know, and he said, you know, Iran's a bigger threat right now than North Korea because if Iran gets a nuke, they're going to use it against Israel, whereas North Korea is just going to use it to blackmail and stuff. They're not actually planning to use it, and that's, you know, that's true. It's true. So it's an unfortunate situation. So. Dan Crenshaw 2024. Oh, that'd be awesome. Dan Crenshaw is awesome. So, guys, if you guys haven't seen yet, I did a stream last night in which I highlighted the great work on Twitter by Mr. Dan Crenshaw. He is a living legend. He's like the young John McCain, man. He's a maverick. He's based. He has no qualms whatsoever about shutting down lunatics in the Trump base, the anti-war brainlets, Cassandra Fairbanks, Justin Amashi. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's on our side. He's on America's side. He's on the West side. He's a lion. And I did about an hour and a half video, you know, absolutely praising Dan Crenshaw, highlighting his work, dunking on the bunk and junk brainlet brigades. That was awesome. Everybody go check that out. I'm really proud of that stream, by the way. You know, I was looking back on it actually earlier today, and I was like, man, you know, comparing that stream to the videos I put out a year and a half ago, I've definitely improved my speaking abilities a fair bit. Obviously, the sound quality and everything is better. We got better equipment and everything now. Thanks to you guys, the patrons, the PayPal gang. You guys are based. Stay golden and keep on rocking in the free world. But, you know, I've also, you know, just improved my speaking abilities and whatnot, my oratory skills. So that's pretty cool. But I've got to say, you know, Dan Crenshaw, I said in that stream, I've said on Twitter, I'll say it again. He's young. He's charismatic. He's vibrant. He's attractive. And he's an absolute lion who doesn't cower from even his own base, from even his own party. He is a principled man who just, you know, I disagree with him on stuff, right? But he's not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to talk about this or that or anything because like people on my side might think I'm bad because I'm like with the neocons here or whatever. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's going to speak truth to the brainlets. I love it. I wish that man becomes president. I'm telling you, straight up, you know, like that guy. I mean, yeah, look, I disagree with him on abortion and stuff like that. But like, here's the thing. And I said this before. If we lose the Cold War, we lose all this. We let Israel get wiped off the map. We let Saudi Arabia get wiped off the map. We lose the fight against Russia. We lose Europe. We lose Korea. All this can happen in this century. This isn't even like a distant thing. This could all happen in the next 20 years, depending on how weak American leadership is. Well, they're going to take over. The forces of darkness are going to take over. We're going to become a colony. We're going to be subjugated. Our sovereignty is going to be dissolved and disintegrated. And in the aftermath, what will our abortion policy be? It'll be whatever Putin or the Kremlin says it is, or whatever Beijing says it is. So I'd rather have somebody who's going to stand up for our sovereignty and our allies that I disagree with on abortion, because at least we still have a civilization and a democracy, and we can have a debate about that later. The enemies win. Our abortion policy is whatever they say it is, and that's probably forced abortions. So, which, if you're pro-choice, you should be against. And if you're pro-life, you're against. So, it's the worst of both worlds in that sense. For all of us, we can all unite around opposition to communism and fascism and Iranian terrorism and North Korean nuclear extortion, right? So that's my stance there. We'll take another look at the chat. Again, thanks for being here tonight, everybody. You know, lots of channels on YouTube, but you guys choose to be watching me right now, and I appreciate that. To Wyoming and beyond, says Nikki Haley, 2024. Yeah, no, that'd be cool too. I'm indifferent between the two. They'd both be very good administrations. She should be the vice president, says Coxie. Nicholas notes here. Bad news, though. The Lincoln Project is going after Crenshaw and Haley. Okay, I got to keep it real with you guys. I'm a very busy dude. Very busy dude. I work a lot. I do these streams every day. I cover all kinds of issues, mostly focused on geopolitics, sometimes economics, sometimes social issues and stuff. We cover the riots and everything like that. Henry more so does that, which, by the way, if you want to see more content focused on the riots and that kind of stuff and everything, go check out Henry. He recently did a video just absolutely eviscerating some SJWs. Awesome guy. He runs American Madhouse over on YouTube. So go and subscribe to him if you haven't done so yet. So he does more content like that. And I often will feature on his panels, you know. But for me at this channel, at Superpower Broadcasting, my work here mostly focuses on international relations, nuclear issues, economics, and just overall news and events of the day. I don't really have that much time to focus on like the drama per se. Like I'll get into drama and stuff on Twitter and everything, and you can all be sure to follow me over there on Twitter. I also do debates from time to time on YouTube as well. But I'll tell you this. I gotta be real. I haven't really paid that much attention to the Lincoln Project, like at all, for like the last month and a half, basically. I know they're still a big force, and I do believe that, yes, they had a noticeable, a more than negligent effect on the election. The election was relatively close. You pulled 2%, 1% from Trump. Yeah, is that decisive? Not in the popular vote, but in these particular swing states. Yes, Arizona went blue, and that's partly due to the John McCain stuff, and you could say the Lincoln Project. However, it has been brought to my attention, not just by Nicholas here tonight, but by others, that the Lincoln Project has been getting woke, that they've gone from being principled Republicans and neoconservatives that were opposed to Trump and everything that he did to just going full Trump derangement syndrome, to the point where they can't even give him credit on stuff that they personally would agree with Trump on. And that's unfortunate, because I always said here, you know, as much as I dislike Trump, and I've said, look, this guy owes a hell of a lot of money to the Russians. His own son admitted that. And they couldn't get financing from anywhere else. The Germans wouldn't do it. Deutsche Bank wouldn't do it anywhere. So he had to go to Alpha Bank and Sberbank out of Cyprus, through the Russians, Oleg Deripaska, all these guys that, you know, you don't get to be some big top banker, billionaire in Russia without kissing the ring of Putin. So basically owes money to Putin by proxy, right? That's a problem if he's going to be the president. That's a big issue. That's a big red flag. Not to mention the beautiful love letters that Chairman Kimmy Changa, as Sock on Brain said. You know, that's his nickname for him. I like that. Fat Kim over in North Korea. Embarrassing. Reminiscent of FDR falling in love with Joseph Stalin. Really, really sad and pathetic stuff. So I'm not a fan of Trump, but I always said, look, if we don't give Trump credit, and you say, oh, I'm a small channel or whatever, I don't care. This is my attitude going forward. We're just getting started. This channel is only going to get bigger. One day, I'd like to take Tucker's job at Fox, right? So what's my attitude when it comes to all this? My attitude is, no matter, for all of my disagreements with you, I'm not just going to immediately just write you off. I'm going to give you credit where credit is due, even if I despise you. And I said it before. I'm like, look, if all the hawks just say to Trump, you were never Trump, you'll never receive credit from us. So then if he goes and does something that you agree with, but then you're critical of him, okay, you mean critical of him on other issues, what are you going to do? Just ignore the stuff that he does that you like? Okay, I guess, but it raises a question to me. If there's no credit where credit is due from us, what incentive does he have then to turn off his base in favor of appealing to us. Because Trump has done that a few times. He did bomb Syria. He did withdraw from the Iran deal. He did, of course, kill Soleimani. That was a huge move. And his base, some of them were like, yeah, that's Trump, badass, right? But a lot of them were like, oh, that's World War III, man, that's bad. Shoe on head. And like, Sticks and Hammer told me this or whatever, right? Nick Fuentes said that was bad, that you were just doing this for Jews. That kind of thing, right? What incentive does he have then to do moves like that if we're just going to say, oh, that was cool, but like we're not going to give you credit because you're orange? It's kind of cringe, bro. That's kind of cringe, bro. So I'd rather have the Hawks have more leverage than less leverage. The whole never Trump thing. Look, I like Bill Kristol a lot. I disagree with him on this. I think never Trump it's kind of cringy. Kind of cringy. You could say almost never Trump, almost not ever Trump. Okay, whatever. But never Trump, then he's got no incentive whatsoever to appeal to you. And then you have no leverage. I'm not that kind of guy. That ain't for me. But full disclosure, obviously, you can probably tell, I haven't been a professional in the Republican Party for like 30 plus years, like people like Bill Kristol have been. So I don't have that sort of tie to that party where I'd imagine if somebody came into a project that I was doing, like say, for example, I was doing this channel for 30 years and then somebody just randomly comes in and trashes it, I'd probably be a never whoever that is too, right? I wouldn't hire them, but so that's not going to happen. But I'll tell you this. I understand why they're never Trump. I understand the emotional aspect of it because they've invested so much in the Republican Party, and then they see this one guy come in and trash it, this one circus clown trash it, so they can't ever give him credit for anything. I get that. But I'm just telling you, that's not a really rational position to have. I get why they have that. I agree with them. I don't like Trump, but like, come on, let's just be adults and just understand that, like, look, if we don't ever give him credit, he's got no incentive to do anything good. You're just creating a positive feedback loop in which he's going to continue to be worse and worse, and then you're going to criticize him, and then he'll get worse and worse and worse. And as opposed to, why don't we create a negative feedback loop in which his worst tendencies are brought down with time, because every time he does something good, he receives praise, and then he does it again, and his worst tendencies become minimized, and it'll be ups and downs, but the troughs and the ebbs will be, lesser distance between each as time goes on. That's the idea, that you could bring Trump towards moderation by giving him credit where credit is due. That's kind of my approach. It's kind of my approach there. So I found some of the stuff that the Lincoln Project has done to be kind of cringy. That's just my perspective there. And I guess that sets me apart from other neocons and stuff that are really down with it. But that's just my position there, and that's I mean, this is my channel. I'm going to speak my mind, right? Like, this is nuanced. I have my own opinion on basically every issue that you could throw to me. I'm not just going to be like, oh, well, what did the Lincoln Project say? I'm going to go to them for this. It's like, no, I said before, I'm like, I thought some of their ads were really good, but they're going to go after Dan Crenshaw and Nikki Haley. Wait, okay. So they go after Nikki Haley, I'm guessing, because she's been kind of siding with Trump on stuff, right? She has to. She wants to be president. She can't distance herself from Trump until Trump is no longer in the White House. Once he's gone, then she can distance herself. You'd think these guys that have been in politics for so long would understand that. But apparently not, because Nikki Haley agrees with them on a lot of stuff. Just lay off Nikki Haley. Focus on Trump if you want to. Sure, make all the ads against Trump. Why are they attacking Nikki Haley? That's stupid. But Dan Crenshaw? Seriously? I played the tweets for you the other day. He was going after the losers and haters in his own party. He was going after the Trump base in his party, basically, on the whole war bad thing and all that. What are they attacking him over? Okay, I have to take a look at the chat. I have to get caught up on the chat. That is insane. I think I'm like 20 minutes behind on the chat right now. but that's how these streams tend to go. Rubio as well. Wait, so are they even Republicans anymore? Like, who's left? Who's the good Republican in their view? Like, okay, now I'm sounding like Nick Fuentes or something. Like, Nick Fuentes, he'd be like, you have ears, you're a Jew. And I'm like, dude, you're nose picker Nick. You're cat boy Nick Fuentes. You're the Mexican Italian who wants an Aryan ethno state. Like, he's insane. We hate each other. He's got me blocked. He's had me blocked for over a year. We hate each other. I despise him. But I'm pretty sure he said the same kind of thing about the Lincoln Project. So, to Wyoming and Beyond says, at Superpower Broadcasting, Mitch McConnell wanted Biden to win. He's glad he wouldn't have to deal with a nut like Trump. FKJMS says, thanks. You're standing up for Saudi people. Not a lot of people stand up for us. Well, I also want to stand up for the Iranian people. I just want to be clear about that. The way you do that, you get rid of their dictatorship. You liberate them from the yoke of that regime. You don't have to liberate people in Saudi Arabia because the regime is reforming and they've been a very loyal ally. And we can pressure them to reform. And based on what I've seen from Mohammed bin Salman, he's keen on more synchronization with the West. So why would you need a war against them? Iran requires a war. Saudi Arabia doesn't. Yeah, I care about people in Saudi Arabia. I care about people in Iran too. So the best thing that we can do is generate peace and stability in the absence of the Iranian regime. So, but yeah, thank you for your support, by the way, FKJMS. Like, you're one of the patron gang, so that's awesome. I appreciate it. Mexicanator says, I hate the Lincoln Project, to be honest. No, I gotta keep it real with you guys. I can't have that strong of an opinion because I haven't seen the ads. I haven't seen the tweets. If you can send me links to specific references of what you're talking about, I will take a look at those. But I can't comment too much tonight without any particular examples here to go over to give my thoughts. So. Well, it says, I would like a Cruz Crenshaw ticket, which sounds like a great cop show team up as well. Cruz Crenshaw. Yeah. Wyatt says, Lincoln Project has always been cringe. I disagree there. They had some good ads against Trump, especially in the early days, that were pretty effective and pretty spot on, and they were better than any that I saw from the Democratic side. I also tended to like a lot of the figures that were associated with the Lincoln Project, but like, what's their end game? Like, I get the never Trump thing. I don't believe in the never Trump thing. Like I said, I think it's irrational, even though if I can understand the emotional reasons why they do so, because they've invested so much in the party to see it trashed. Like, I get it. But why are you going after Nikki Haley? Why are you going after Dan Crenshaw? Like, you're just going to do the Trump stuff. Cool. Why destroy other Republicans? What? Because they talk to Trump? That sounds like Mean Girls. Like, grow up. Kirk Wilcox says, I think the Lincoln Project is much bigger to people who don't spend much time with social media politics. Yeah, and that's a good point. That's a good point. A lot of their ads that they play, oh yeah, people on Twitter might be like, oh, these guys are warmongers or whatever. Average people are going to watch those ads and be like, oh, that's an effective ad, you know? So I think they did sway votes. I think they swayed a lot of votes. At least 1% of the votes probably were swayed by these guys. So Kamal Jeet says, Henry is way better at being an anti-SJW channel than all the others. He does not cater to anyone. I'm sure if he did, he would have more subs, but hey, Henry has principles. Oh, I'm kind of in a similar position when it comes to foreign policy stuff. I've said to you guys a lot, I'm like, look, got a degree in politics focused on international relations. I can obviously talk. I know how to stream. If I did the Kyle shtick, the Jimmy shtick, the Vosh shtick, and just said, hey, look, man, it's Russia's sphere of influence. And Vosh doesn't really talk about that stuff too much, but he does go after people for supporting the Iraq War and that kind of thing and everything. He doesn't really talk about Russia too often, but with all those guys, Stephen Cohen, Peter Lavelle, all of them, I could be like those guys and just be like, hey man, it's Russia's sphere of influence, and like, you don't understand, man. Like George H.W. Bush and like Gorbachev, they had an agreement that like NATO wouldn't expand, and then like America expanded NATO later on, and like we feel sad, man. We feel sad, man. And I'd be like, I could just make those arguments. I'd probably have like 2,000 subscribers by now. But that raises a question. What would be the point? Like what's the point? Would I want to have 1 million subscribers so that I can lie to them every day and just pretend to be a shill that I'm not? Or would I rather be a maverick, rather come out here and tell you my actual thoughts and call it as I see it? And even if we only got a few hundred, you know, everybody here, they're here for this, you know, they're here for the truth. They're here for me. So I'd much rather, like, if somebody said to me right now, you can either keep your audience right here with like Wyatt and Kirk and Kamal Jeet and Nicholas and all the recent Henry parody accounts and Sock on Brain and FKJMS and all these guys here, you can either keep your 385 subscribers right here, or you can have Kyle's 850,000 subscribers or whatever. I'd be like, no, I'm taking these guys. You guys, like, screw, to hell with Kyle's subscribers, because then I'm gonna like do a stream and they're gonna be like, you sound like a neocon, Ziocon. You sound like an imperialist, racist, and all this kind of stuff and everything. An Orientalist. It's like, if I had his subscribers, then I'd have to deal with his subscribers, like in every chat. That would be insane. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to do that? And then you say, oh, but like, yeah, but Kyle makes a lot more money at it or whatever. What would even be the point? What would even be the point in making more money if you're just going to sell your soul? Like, seriously, what would be the point? What's the point? You know? So that's my attitude there. Like that, like I tell you, you know, I keep it 100 with the Hawks. Always have, always will. And if you find contradictory points from me between videos and stuff, my advice to you first would be look at the difference in time between them, because my views evolve over time, right? You know, I've gotten more protectionist now than when I started this channel. I wouldn't say I'm more unilateralist now than I was when I started the channel. I'm just more vocally unilateralist than when I started the channel. I didn't really talk about it too much before and everything, whereas now I'm like, no, America is exceptional. America is the vanguard of liberty. I'm so done with the watered down, diluted approach of like, oh, well, we need to get all these allies on board. It's like, yeah, not if they're not going to play ball, not if they're going to be like France or whatever, you know? So I've gotten a lot more vocal about that. Not very many of my views have actually changed. It's just, yeah, a bit more protectionist now. A bit more, well, I guess, yeah, as time has gone on, definitely a lot more anti-debt, that kind of stuff and everything. And definitely more vocally unilateral. That's kind of the evolution for sure. So even with my channel, as young as it is, 1.5 years old, you can probably find some contradictory statements-ish, but I'll tell you, I believe what I said back then, and I believe what I say now. So that's my approach there. So we will wrap up the stream shortly, though. But I do want to thank you guys for being with us tonight. We still have 14 people here, one on Twitch. That's cool. So we'll see what people had to say. Oh, Wyatt came here. Yep, Wyatt says, hi, I'm late. How's it going, Wyatt? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, I was talking about Wyatt earlier. I remember I read that comment. We're just going to get caught up over here. Why? Okay, I'm caught up now. Or not caught up, but I've gotten to the point that I was when I was catching up on the comments. Wyatt says, because I lost my place earlier. Wyatt says, Lincoln Project people are Republicans who want to be Democrats. Why not just register as a Democrat? Why not? Like I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just wondering what's going on with them. Nicholas says Lincoln Project has been woke a long time with its Black Lives Matter standing. And it's true. Yeah, like Mitt Romney went out at like a Black Lives Matter rally and stuff. That was kind of cringy. But Kirk Wilcox says, I know some people who listen to the Lincoln Project's podcast. They're not active with online politics. Maybe anecdotal. Maybe further proof that Twitter isn't a good indicator of trends. Well, it's not a good indicator of trends. I believe it was, who was it? It was, no, I think it was Mike, Progressive Apostate, had noted on a stream. I believe it was Joe Biden wins election that aired, was it the 7th of November, if I recall? I'm pretty sure it was the 7th of November. I know because I uploaded a mirror of it recently. Henry hooked me up with the file and everything. Mike said something. He said, the Joe Biden team, here's something that they did that people can learn from. They said, we're just going to turn off Twitter. And we're not going to care what like a bunch of people on Twitter have to say. And we're just going to run this campaign as we would have if Twitter weren't a thing. And they won. So, a lot of people live outside of Twitter. Not everybody has a Twitter account. Like, I know people who don't even have a Twitter account. Never mind just posting all the time and stuff. Like, obviously, like I'm like a small influencer on Twitter. A lot of people out there use Twitter casually, but the majority of people don't even have a Twitter account at all. So Twitter is by definition just a minority of the sample of the total population. So, it is a sample size and it's not necessarily reflective of the entire population because people that are on Twitter have certain properties that people that aren't on Twitter don't necessarily have in aggregate, such that you can't draw the trends of Twitter and then extrapolate to the rest of the population and say, oh, we scaled up linearly and that's how things are going to go. Because there's a certain type of person that signs up for Twitter versus a type of person that says, I don't want to deal with that, man. Those are very different people, different sensibilities. And you can't extrapolate the views of what's going on Twitter to that person that said, I don't want anything to do with Twitter. They probably disagree on stuff. So, and they probably have a different worldview. So, and then that's the point that you tell me, okay, boomer, right? It's like, a 26-year-old boomer over here. So, let's see. Oh, there's a lot. Okay, there are a lot of comments here tonight, and I'm still about 15 minutes behind. I am going to catch up on them, but I'll be back in a minute. I got to go and get some more water. So stay tuned. Okay. We're all still here. Wonderful. Let's get caught up on the chat, and then we will close out the stream. So. Kamal Jeet Ram says, barely listened to the Lincoln Project. Nicholas says, oddly enough, you can interpret the data to make the case that Trump 2020 was closer than 2016, even if Trump's vote deficit was bigger. Yeah, well, in the run-up to the election, Joe Biden was actually doing worse in polling in those swing states, namely the Rust Belt, than Hillary Clinton was. And she lost them, but he won. So the polling was off in the other direction this time, you know? And a lot of it was outside of the 3% margin of error anyway. Like it was pretty off. Nicholas says, Twitter is not a good indicator at all. Biden's campaign managers explicitly ignored it. Look how that turned out. Well, that's what I was noting earlier. Yep. But you probably made that point before I did, because that was 20 minutes ago, and I'm just seeing the chat now. Well, it says some people seem very anti-Trump as a cover to be anti-American. As soon as it is a different president, none of their opinions change. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. Kamal Jeet says, Twitter does not have any influence in voting. I disagree with that. It has some influence, but it's overrated. Snowden belongs in jail. Absolutely agree. Winter says, this incentivizing strategy was probably put into practice, except by multiple people in the admin with different interests and agendas. So Trump grew to distrust them all. Yeah, well, that's true, because I know that John Bolton did try that approach, basically. So, for what it's worth. Winter says, there's only one true Republican left, and his name is Charlie Kirk. Oh, man, Mr. Whiteboard. He's like Glenn Beck crying, mixed with Alex Jones screaming, mixed with Cheesy Charlie, as we used to know him. So, really unfortunate downfall. You really, you're looking in there. He's disheveled. His facial hair is a mess. You can see the lack of sleep in his eyes. Man, he ain't doing all right. He didn't handle that election well. And you look at that, and you see him with the lines and the chalkboard and all the conspiracy theories and crossing the lines and everything and putting the puzzle together and everything in his mind. And you look at that, you're like, dude, you really hate to see it, man. You really hate to see it. He was a star. And look at what happened to him. Embarrassing downfall. Nicholas says, sorry, Crenshaw wasn't included in the Lincoln Project ad. Okay, that's good. Good. Well, I guess it's only a matter of time, though, before they do go after Crenshaw, right? Because I guess all that you have to say is give Trump credit for something, and they might go after you. Maybe they'll go after me. Wouldn't that be fun? Mexicanator says, superpower broadcasting greater than CNN. Oh, yeah. No question. Absolutely. Like, it's not even close. That's the other thing. It's not even close. I said this before. I'm like, look, the end goal with all this is that this channel takes off and everything. We're already taking off compared to other channels. This subscriber level, are you kidding? Our community is vibrant. Our patron gang is lit. Compared to other channels anywhere in this order of magnitude, no, it's not even close. Like, we're the top dogs, and we're just getting started. But one day, when this channel's got 1 million subs or more, 1.7 million subs, I want to, do the shows as I do and everything, and all the pre-recorded videos and all that kind of stuff, and just hawk pill the Zoomers and the millennials and everything. But I also would like to work at Fox News so that I can hawk pill the boomers. I said, I'm like, look, if this channel's financially viable and everything, I would take Tucker's job for free. Like, you don't even have to give me the salary at that point. I just want the position. I just want the megaphone, basically, so that I can reach people. That'd be awesome. That'd kind of be like the dream there and everything. But, Fox is definitely one of those networks where especially once we get back to a more hawkish era and everything, you basically be more free to speak your mind that way. Whereas CNN, the problem with the culture at CNN is that the culture at CNN is basically you have to be neutral and you have to say, well, these guys say this and those guys say that, and we can't tell the difference or whatever. You all know I don't do false equivalencies. I don't do moral relativism. I'm like, I have my worldview. I know right from wrong. I have my beliefs, my vision, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to play the Wolf Blitzer type game or whatever. I'm incapable of doing that. I have to give an opinion on stuff, right? I find that Fox would be better for that, you know, in terms of me. Like, I prefer Fox personally. Now, the Trump era Fox has been super cringy, but, you know, you're getting a more real take from people by and large, the people that are there, than you are from watching CNN, where it's just neutrality, you know, to the logical conclusion of neutrality, which is basically Switzerland, which is, oh, let's trade with North Korea. It's like, oh, that's pathetic. Okay. Anyway, Kirk Wilcox says Saudi Arabia is a country with plenty of oil, beachfront, and Arabic women, and they're ruled by mystic thugs. What a waste of potential. Yeah, but you could say the same thing about Iran, right? So, and Iran's a threat to the world. Nicholas says it was Haley, Cotton, Cruz, Rubio, Lee, and Hawley. That's a long laundry list of prominent figures they went after. What's their end game? What's their end game? Like, what? Like, I get the anti-Trump stuff, but like, why? Why go after Rubio? That's just so random. Like, it's like Mean Girls drama. Wyatt Claypole says the Lincoln Project ads tended to lean towards raw Trump derangement syndrome with not much else, like implying he would run for president in 2024 if he won in 2020. Yeah, I know, and I've actually been critical, like, you know, even towards Bill Kristol, and I really like Bill Kristol, but Bill Kristol kind of said, you know, he kind of likened Trump to being a dictator if he won the election. And I'm like, there's an election. There's a free and fair election. By definition, he's not a dictator if he wins it. Like, can we just get over the hysteria? Like, Donald Trump is not a dictator. Like, I disagree with him on a ton of stuff. I've criticized him so many times. He's not a dictator. That's crazy. That is almost, and I'm not going to say it's dictator apologetics because it's not. I know that Bill Kristol is a vehement supporter of the Iraq War, as I am, but it makes light of the depravity and the brutality and the grotesqueness of actual dictatorships and the absolute mayhem and misery that they inflict upon their populations. To call Trump a dictator is to lessen what Kim Jong-un is doing. It's to make light of what Saddam did. I'm just keeping it real here. Like, I'll go after people I really like when they do that kind of stuff. And I don't even like Trump. It's cringy, man. Comparing him to being a dictator, you're like, okay, come on. Like, this isn't middle school anymore. Let's just be adults here. And, you know, that's my approach there anyway. Mexicanator says, joining the Patreon gang. Booyah. Thank you for joining the gang, Mexicanator. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Glad to have you. And, you know, we're getting close to that mark. I'll check where Patreon's going to be at, you know, so I can report to you guys how close we are to the mark for daily pre-recorded videos. But let's take a look. Okay, so we're up to 10 patrons now. With Mexicanator, we are at the 10th patron. Only $19 more to go. We're almost there. We're over 4/5 the way there towards getting the double content each day. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Show me another channel this size that's got anywhere this much support. You won't find it. So Wyatt says, yay. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm going to leave Mexicanator's comment up there. That's hype. Sock on Brain says, Abraham Lincoln wanted to send all African Americans back to Africa. I'm not actually aware of that. I'm not aware of that. That's crazy. Yeah, Mexinator says just join the patron gang. Awesome. Suckin' Brain says, I've run out of meme ideas. I need to refuel. No, fair enough. Fair enough. Gotta recharge. Nicholas says, with the Lincoln Project going after Haley, it looks like Haley will have to wait before she runs. Good thing she's still relatively young. Well, I don't know that. I don't know that. I mean, because by that logic, the Lincoln Project will be around for however many years and stuff. So they'll presumably be around for 50 years, maybe, or whatever. Who knows? But that shouldn't stop her from running. I question the effect of the Lincoln Project, though, after Trump. I really do. Because the Lincoln Project and their ads and stuff, they got a lot of Republicans to think, even if it's just a small number, it's enough to sway an election at a local level. They got enough of them to think, hey, look, these guys are Republicans. They got some good criticism of Trump. Whereas if a Democrat made those criticisms, they might not have given them the time of day. But now they're just going to be known as like wannabe Democrats or something. I don't think Republicans are going to take them as seriously anymore. And so I don't think that they're going to be as much of a significant force to be reckoned with if it's Nikki Haley running. And if you ask Nikki Haley, would you rather have the approval of the Lincoln Project or Trump's base? She'd rather have Trump's base to run for president on, because 1% of Republicans aren't going to get you the presidency, whereas 80% of Republicans might. So, because she's not Trump, but she can't piss them off right now. She can rebrand once she has power. She needs to get power first. So, she knows how to play politics. So, and you would think the Lincoln Project would too. But integrity is more important than money. Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Kamaljeet Ram says, oh no, you don't cater to people, referring to me here. Kevin Newcomb Castley. She says, if I told some of my friends about you, they must have thought you were crazy and called you a racist and Islamophobe. Oh yeah, no, that's like people that I went to university with when they find out what I do. Spot on. Those are the remarks. Oh, you want to liberate brown people from terrorism and dictatorships? Oh, you must be such a racist, right? Oh yeah, because if I was racist against people in the Middle East, I would care so much about championing liberating them from the Taliban. Oh yeah, because that makes sense. Oh, he's a neocon because he's racist. Yeah, pick one. You can't, those are contradictory worldviews. Let's take a look at this, at the chat. If Kevin had Kyle's audience, he'd have to spend all of his money on cheap vodka and antidepressants. Oh yeah, it wouldn't even be enough. I would die of drug overdose having to deal with those brainlets. I'd basically have to turn the comments and the chat off. But then where would be the fun? And then the channel would dry up pretty soon. What a depressing life. And I know that Kyle probably believes all that stuff, but he's gotten to a point now where could he even really change his mind? Because if he did change his mind and he admitted, hey, Reese made a good point or something, can't do it because then the money dries up. Kind of a tight position to be in. Whereas for me, I'm never going to have to deal with that because I'm a principled hawk and, I believe in what I believe in. And you guys support me knowing full well what I believe in. So, that's kind of what it is there. And you might say, oh, but what happens if you change your mind and agree with Kyle? That won't happen. I played devil's advocacy a lot in university, and a lot of my friends watched Kyle, and we would watch Kyle and everything. I did all the arguments and stuff, and I've debated on behalf of the Russian perspective and stuff before. I did Model UN for 7 years, basically. I know their arguments. I know all their lines of reasoning. There's nothing that any of them could do to convince me that Saddam shouldn't have been overthrown or that Putin's the victim or any of this kind of BS. I know full well what I believe when it comes to all this, and I lost a lot of friends over it. but I have no regrets. So, and I don't have any sort of cognitive dissonance anymore. My life has never been better. So. Kevin is not going to put on the heels to get Kyle's audience. Can picture an unshaven, punished Castley shilling for Maduro and the Ayatollahs with dark circles under his eyes and bottles of liquor where the Empire State Building is now. Yes, and the lights are out and it's dark and it's just like, and all the comments are just like, maybe that it was all just a meme. You know, where's Nukem? Yeah, well, I'm right here, man. I'm right here. That might have been when I was on, just getting water on my break. Okay. Kirk will have no career and no one to look up to. He will progressively. No, I'm back. I'm back. We lost me for a second there. Where was the comment from Sock on Brain? Oh, we lost the comment from Sock on Brain. It must have been censored out. Okay, that's unfortunate. Retrieving H2O. Yep. Regarding Kirk, actually saw him back on Fox yesterday on some panel talking about the election. He still hasn't hit rock bottom yet, apparently. Well, he's got an important choice to make. Does he want to be the next Alex Jones? Or does he want to be the next Tucker Carlson? Because he's basically situated at a crossroads right now. He can go down that dark path of insanity and be shunned and seen as a lunatic by mainstream Republicanism. Or he can hopefully try to salvage, his former stardom and everything and get back in the good graces of the donors on his side and everything, But Kamal Jeet Ram says, if Kevin takes Tucker's position, I will give Kevin $100 a month when I get a good paying job. I appreciate it. And if I wind up getting offered to do it, if I say, look, you got a lot of people you're looking to hire, but I'll do it for free. You have to pay, like they all want millions. I'll do it for free, as long as I've got my channel paying my expenses and that kind of stuff, then I would appreciate it. If they do give me the Tucker salary though, then like at that point, no, we can put the Patreon money and everything else into hyping up smaller channels at that point. Like if Fox is paying me $6 million a year, I'll shut down the Patreon and literally tell everybody to go hype up smaller channels, basically, But assuming I've got like my emergency fund and everything in together by that point, so it's not like the money's going to be any sort of influence over my views. Like I could leave any day and be totally fine, that sort of thing. But that'll be a long time down the road. Hopefully Tucker's not there that long, though, by the way. I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope somebody replaces him far sooner than before Fox even becomes aware of me, so. Mexicanator says, Tucker versus Kevin debate. Well, we don't disagree on everything. I think we would have some overlapping areas of agreement on trade, neoliberalism, protectionism, border security, the sensibilities of the coastal elites, that kind of stuff, progressives, the SJWs. Like there's actually a lot of stuff that Tucker and I would be kind of similar on. I'm I'm like a liberal neocon. He's an isolationist paleocon, but we do have some areas of overlapping agreement. The foreign policy stuff is where that debate would be. Like we're not going to debate over like trade or something. Like we have a lot of areas of agreement there, and the abortion debate, that's whatever. Like how do you move somebody on that? That's kind of like a non-starter. But the foreign policy stuff, that would be an interesting debate. For sure. For sure. And if Trump's no longer in the White House, I think Tucker would be more inclined to reconsider some of his foreign policy positions, perhaps, if somebody like Crenshaw or Haley becomes the leader of the party, because otherwise he's going to have to leave Fox, and he knows it. So, Sock on Brain says, Sticks versus Kevin debate. That's Sticks and Hammer. I've never even watched one of his videos. I just know he's like that super pinner dude who does a bunch of his shows shirtless and has like a Roman flag or something in the background. He looks totally LARPy and goofy and pathetic and a total lightweight. That's what I gather from him. That debate would likely go the same route that the Liz debate went. He strikes me as a kind of Lizzie kind of guy. That's just the vibes that I get from him. Do you guys think he looks and sounds kind of Lizzie? Like I've seen clips and stuff, never seen a full video or anything. He just seems absolutely insane, like absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. We're going to wrap up the stream, though, so be sure to like this video, subscribe to Superpower Broadcasting if you haven't done so yet. I'm your host, Kevin Castley. Thanks for being here this evening. You can follow me over on Twitch. The link is in the description below. Additionally, you can also check out this channel over on Facebook now. We are streaming to Facebook. Recently unzucked. That's pretty awesome. It's only a matter of time before we get zucked again, though. So, additionally, if you want to support me, you can join Mexicanator and the rest of the gang over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Superpower Broadcasting. Appreciate all of your support. We're almost to the goal, the first goal of $100 a month. Once we hit that mark, daily pre-recorded videos premiering to YouTube in the mornings, in addition to these daily live streams airing every evening to YouTube, Twitch, and now Facebook. So double the content. We're almost there. So big ups to all the patrons. You guys are awesome. Stay based. Keep on rocking in the free world. You know, all that jazz. Additionally, if you just want to send your boy a tip, but you don't want to like sign up for any sort of like monthly commitment sort of deal, you can find my PayPal in the description as well. And I appreciate all the support that we received over there. Recently had to spend about $1,700 on the computer, a couple $100 on lighting and stuff and everything and all that kind of stuff. And we're just getting started, but it was a big expenditure, and we'll do upgrades and stuff in the future. But, you know, I had to definitely pay some of that out of my own pocket. The patrons helps quite a bit and everything in the PayPal gang. You guys have offset most of the costs, but, you know, I want to offset that cost first before we save up for any new upgrades and stuff. So, you know, down the road, I think I want to upgrade this mic. I'm just using a Blue Yeti right now, you know, one of these ones. And I've got just a 720p Logitech webcam that I use since like the early days of the channel. I'd like to get a 1080 one, I think. And I'd like to get like some key lighting and stuff in here and everything else to make it more cool, and probably a couple more background ambient lighting and whatnot in here would be kind of cool. So definitely a lot of upgrades that we could do down the road for sure. But I appreciate all the support that we've received so far. And I want you to know, the money that you send me here to support the channel does go to support the channel. And so all going to offset all these costs and everything. And so appreciate it. So that's about everything I got to say here. Suck on Brain does say, well, we'll take a look at Kamal Jeets first. She says, Sticks versus Kevin. Kevin would slaughter him, please. Well, we'll see. We'll see if he wants to debate. We'll see. Like if he challenges me, I'm not going to challenge him. I'm not a debate me, bro. But if you people like, you know, if you guys want to go out there and say like, yo, debate this guy or whatever, like if he challenges me to a debate, I'll take the debate. But I don't really feel like talking to Sticks. That's all I got to say. So I'm not really too much a fan of debating. And also on that note, I should mention, we're not doing any more debates until the new year. Like after the Burns debate, after having to sit through and have that clown with his Burger King crown, you know, having that guy waste my time basically for 2 goddamn hours, where it's not just that we disagreed, whatever. Like, we have debates and we disagree on stuff. It's that he couldn't even follow my line of reasoning. He was just getting tripped up and confused, and he even admitted his own side has failed. And then once it was clear that he was losing, he resorted to calling me names and ad hominems and called me racist and accused me of watching Devin Tracy. And I'm like, yeah, I've watched Devin Tracy. I watched some of his videos, watched a few videos over the summer. I'm aware of him. Used to watch him back before 2016. What a gotcha. What a gotcha. Kevin Cassidy's watched Devin Tracy. Ooh, spooky, scary. Look over here. I know I'm losing the debate, but like, he's heard of Devin Tracy. So like, he loses, right? No. That guy wasted 2 hours of my time, you know? I'm not really too much a fan of the Brainlet Brigades, you know? I'd rather talk with you guys, but you guys want to see the debates, and I get it. It's entertaining. I understand it. If I was in your position, it'd be pretty spectacular debate to watch, right? But like, from my position, a lot of research went into that and everything, and then I have to deal with this? Seriously? So it's just it was Liz 2.0, you know? Nutso Liz 2, Electric Boogaloo. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. I think we're all disappointed in Burns' performance. And, you know, part of that's my fault. I hyped him up far more than it turned out that he was worthy of. But, you know, I have no regrets there. If I bungled it, you know, at least it doesn't look like I lose to somebody I said was stupid. But we won that, you know, for what it's worth. But there is an upside to that. Well, several upsides. Obviously, the nuke pill has expanded its domain, its sphere of influence, if you will. And also, you lovely people sent me about $190 that night, you know, in tips and everything. And I really appreciate that, because I put hours and hours of research into getting up to date on my specs and stats and everything and all that. Because, you know, I casually follow North Korea a lot, but you're going to be doing a debate. You need to have everything ready to go, right? And people told me, they're like, dude, Kevin, dude, Mr. Burns, he's got a doc sheet, man. He does his research. You better come prepared. I came prepared. All he had was a bunk and junk fragment of a quote from John Bolton. He basically did the Mehdi Hassan treatment. That's it. And he repeated it like 5 times. That's your doc sheet. It's like his doc sheet is just like, mention John Bolton contradicting him once. It's like, okay, I can talk about John Bolton's entire other career, like the entirety of his career, and you have some vague statement about him saying we should work with China that he probably doesn't even likely believe, because he's an offensive realist and he doesn't want to alert North Korea to an imminent invasion if he gets power again. So, duh. Anyway, this has been a bit of a longer stream than I thought it would be, but that's what happens. It's always good to talk with you guys. And we're actually basically under lockdown where I am now. I'll probably do a stream on that tomorrow. Is it lockdown where you guys are? Well, you know, I'll probably be off air by the time anybody responds now. But I got to get heading to bed and everything. But always good to come on here. And I'll be back tomorrow night. And yeah, stay tuned, everybody. I'll see you in the next stream. Take care, everybody. Peace.